Hello and welcome back to another video. So today we are going to be talking about one of the things that probably, I'd say, if you put out a poll to all the teachers in the country, most teachers would put this as one of their least favourite things to do, and that is writing reports. And I can't say it's up there with my favourite things either. It's not something that I particularly enjoy. I think the benefits of reports are there, and I can see why we have to do them by the government, and obviously they're a statutory thing to write, but they do take a lot of time to do, and I think sometimes, especially if you're the kind of teacher that rings and speaks to parents a lot, which I often feel like I speak to a lot of parents and I talk to them about things that go on in school. So often the reports are they confirm what you've already said rather than be anything new. And so I'm not sure they're the most important thing as part of being a teacher, but they are something that takes up a lot of time. And so I thought today I'd have a quick chat about what I do when it comes to report writing time and how I get them done, and some kind of tips for you guys if you're looking at writing your first set of reports at the end of maybe your NQT year. And so I just kind of say, look, this is what I do, this might help you. So writing reports, the first thing to do is obviously you need to get started. Now, it depends how long you've got to do them and when they're set and how much you have to do, but I just think it's always good to get started. So obviously from your list of children, say you've got 30 children in your class, there'll always be some children that you'll find it easy to write about, there'll be loads to write about that child, and there'll be some children where actually you'll struggle to think of stuff that you need to write about them and the right things to say. So to get started, I think pick off a few children that you think, look, maybe 4 or 5 that you think, like, I've got loads to write about them, I know what I'm going to say, I already know what I'm going to write, and get them done quick as you can. Because you can always go back and check them afterwards, but just to say, look, I've got started, I've got 5 under my belt, I've got another 25 to do, but I've started, I know what kind of things I want to write. Often, as you're writing them, you'll feel that these ideas come into your head of what you can say, and then once you've done those, when it comes to a child that's harder to write, you can look back at what you've said for a previous child, and obviously change it and alter it to link to the child that you are currently working on. So definitely, I think getting started is just good to pick 4 or 5 kids that you know you've got loads to write about. I can say loads about this child. Let's get them done and then move on to the ones that might be harder and use those as a bit of inspiration. Obviously altering them to make sure they are unique to each child and that each child has stuff that is relevant to them. The next thing to think about with reports is how you're actually going to do them. So once you've done those first 4 or 5, you've got to think about the rest of your reports and when you can fit them in. Now, again, this will vary on how you work, because I know some teachers like to do a few a day over a period of time. Other teachers like to do them in a couple of bigger chunks. Some teachers like to just sit and get them done. And personally, that's what I like to do. When I'm writing reports, I think actually it's good while I'm in the same right headspace, while I'm ready to do it, I'll just get as many as I can done, and I'll try and get them all done in one day. And it is often a very long day report writing. This year, it took me from about 10 o'clock in the morning to about, I think it was about 5 o'clock in the evening on one of my weekends. And I just got them all done in those 7 or so hours. And I'd done my first 4 or 5 earlier that week, so I knew what I was going to be writing about, and I knew the kind of things I wanted to say about each child. And so I said, right, I've got this list of things I want to say about them, and I want to talk about their strengths and their weaknesses in each of these areas, and this is what I'm going to put into my reports. And so that's what I did, and I spent a whole day doing them. And it is a long day, it's a hard day. I had a bit of football because the Euros on at the minute, so I had that on in the background while I was doing it. But it just meant that I could say, right, they're done. One sitting, end of the day, I was so happy because they were all finished. And like I said, it's not my favourite thing to do. It's not the favourite part of being a teacher for me, but I do see the importance. And so to get them all done in one go, it was brilliant. I could then spend a few evenings the rest of that week going through them. I think I went through about 10 a night over the rest of that week, just to go over them, check them for things like spelling, things like grammar, things like words in the wrong place, just usual kind of proofreading of work. So I did that throughout the rest of that week, and then by the end of the week, they were completely finished and sent off to have the final head teacher comments added in. So again, that worked for me, doing them all in one go. So maybe if you're in the right headspace, have a go. If you're the type of person that likes working more methodically through things, and then spit it out, create a timetable, decide when you're going to do each bit and put them in. Maybe start them straight after school. Maybe do them in an evening while you've got something on the TV that I have the football on. So link to how you work. Everyone works differently. In part, what we have to teach the kids is how they work. And obviously some children like working in big chunks. Some people like doing a little bit, then having a break. Link it back to how you work and the best things you can do. Because after all, it is just work. It's just domestic report writing you've got to do. So just look at it as a bit of work you have to do, and then just work on getting them done as and when you can and as and when fits you best. Another thing I like to do when I'm writing them, and again, because I did them all in one chunk, I did this all on the same day, but I group children who are of a similar kind of ability level. They all have their own personalities, but in terms of their academic levels, then you do have children who are very similar on levels. And so what I write about one child, if it fits another child, I'll use the same sort of thing. And I don't just copy paste it and put it into the box, but I say, right, well, I've said that about that child. this child is a very similar level to that person, so I'm going to say a similar kind of thing, and I'll tweak little bits because, for instance, one child who's very good at multiplication, another one might be very good at division, so I will tweak little bits like that. But overall, they are of a similar ability, they're a similar level. And then it's the general comments where I really diversify what I'm saying, because obviously that's about their personality, how they are as a person in class, how they are with their friends and that kind of thing. And obviously every child in that sense can be very, very unique. So we make sure that area is completely diversified. But the bits about, your English, your maths, your foundation sessions, those things, I like to have a list of things I want to talk about in those areas. And then I'll put together children who are strong in one area, and I'll write about those as a group, because then I'm talking about the same kinds of things as I go through it. So obviously it makes it a bit easier rather than having to think of a whole new different kind of thing to talk each time. Now, the general comments bit on a report is my favourite section of the reports to write. And that's because you can really get into what that child is like. And all the children in your class will have such unique personalities, such different ways of going about things. And it's so good to report back to the parents on what they are like and how they are as a person and how they're getting on in a general sense, rather than just, yep, they're good at maths, yep, they're good at English, yep, they're good at foundation. So I really like the general comments because you really add a bit of a personal twist. And that's where it's so important to completely personalise your general comments and make sure they are so accurate to the child, because these are the bits that the parents will enjoy reading the most. Obviously, parents, especially the ones that value their education really well, will love reading about how their English is going, how their maths is going. But in terms of general comments, obviously, the big thing that all parents want for their kids is they want them to be a good person. They want them to be happy in what they're doing. So if a child is doing amazing English and maths, but they're not happy in school, then that's something they won't be happy about, and you need to have a go at changing. So definitely the general comments are the bit where I reckon they're the most important bit, because the parents will be reading this and they'll be trying to find out what their child is like as a person when they're with their friends in school. Parents don't get to see the kids at school. They have all this time throughout the day where children are interacting with other people, and the parents just completely miss it and don't see what happens. So I think it's so important here to give a really accurate and clear picture of what their child is like and fill the parents in on what they're doing while they're at school. So definitely general comments, I love those bits, and they are really interesting to write for each child and to really give the parent an idea of what they're talking about. I did link to this earlier, and I just wanted to kind of highlight it now, is that a report should not be a surprise. When you're writing a report for a parent, there should be nothing in there that surprises them about their child, because I definitely think communication with parents is so important as a teacher, and letting your parents know what the children are doing, what they're like, how they're getting on. And I think if a parent reads a report and there's something that's surprising in there, then that's something you should have mentioned earlier. That's something I always try and do. Again, I'm not perfect. It might not always happen, and I don't think anyone is perfect. It will happen occasionally, but you should always try and make sure you communicate with parents beforehand about what you're going to be writing about. So definitely, I think that's a really important thing to mention, is that when you're writing stuff, think about, is this something you've spoken to parents before? And if not, is it something you should be speaking to parents about? Because generally, if there's something that's a surprise in a report, the parents should have probably known about it beforehand. And if not, then think about, is there a way you can talk to them about it before you send the report out? So definitely, I think about reports, think about what you're writing, and make sure it's something that the parent is ready to hear. And if it's something that they're not quite ready to hear, make sure that you're talking about it in person or over the phone, rather than just cold hard facts on a sheet of paper, because it can kind of either soften a blow if it's not very good news, or if it's really good news, then obviously you want to tell them in person because it's amazing news and you're excited for the child in your class and how well they've done, because that's a reflection on you as a teacher at the end of the day. So definitely should not be really having surprises in reports. And my final tip for report writing is to always aim to write down what you'd want to hear. So first off, that means writing in a style that you are expecting to see. So obviously you're checking for spelling, you're checking for grammar, but this is a chance to show off your writing in a way, and how the children are expecting to read and parents are expecting to read your good, brilliant level of writing that you're teaching the children. So definitely making sure you're writing carefully and thinking about your words. Writing a language that children and parents will understand. Teaching is full of acronyms and it's full of codes, and don't pass that on to parents if they're not in the teaching world, because they won't understand what you're talking about. So definitely make sure you're writing a language that they will understand, if you're not using all those acronyms if you don't need to. And then write the kind of things you want to hear about your child. So obviously these are not just necessarily if you're a parent with a kid, but these children in your class are your responsibility. And so write stuff that you'd want to hear about them. If there's a child that's not doing particularly well, then write down not only that they're not doing well, but what they can do to improve on that. If they're doing amazingly, then write what they're doing amazingly, but still, can they keep on pushing on? Can they get even better? There's no point just writing something for the sake of writing it. It's always got to be with a purpose, and this purpose of the report is to report to the parents on how they're doing, but it's also to report on the things they can do to get even better than where they are. So just write what you'd want to hear as a teacher. If you were to get a report on a child that you're going to teach next year, you'd want to see where they are, but you'd also want to see where you can take them on in the next year. So think about that as you're writing your reports, because hopefully parents will be reading these with the idea that they're going to help work with their child over summer and over the next school year to get them even better. So that was kind of my quick guide on writing reports, and hopefully this is the time of year where most people are writing reports in primary schools. Hopefully you're working through yours really well. If not, then maybe this giving you a few ideas of how to do them. And as always, if there's any questions or anything you might want to say, put them down in the comments below and I will get back to you as soon as I can. So thank you for watching, guys, and I'll see you soon.